the life. I'm over you. I'm trying to pick up the pieces. No more left to be said. You cannot kill my life. You cannot kill this heart. You can never take us out. I just stay my lane. I don't know what I like, make I no change. Mama don't worry, she's okay. Bye bye to me and you. See me at the blue moon. You cannot kill my vibe. Trying to subliminals, I ain't got time. Sikujibu, no. Sikujibu, utajijo, nikojo. You can never disrupt this vibe. Trying to subliminals, I ain't got time. Sikujibu, no time. Sikujibu, utajijo, nikojo. She's okay. She's okay. Many of us are lost. Many of us are lost. Reaching out to all the maximum African continents. Introducing to It's Okay by Tanasha John. It's always gonna be okay as long as you're still and you're receiving, because you know what? It's August for what happened? How are you doing? Oh, hello, Keith. All right, all right. All righty. Good morning, Keith. I hope you're doing better. Welcome to Let's Talk with you, Rutan. And today's topic is the voice of Africans. Thank you guys for joining me live on TikTok, YouTube, X, and all over, and also basically on the radio and on TV. Congratulations to Black Hot Fire Network. Remember, you can download our app on Google Store and also stream on www.blackhotfirenetwork.com. Thank you, Lavister underscore 254 official, for joining me on TikTok. You're saying hi. Play me your song. Oh my God! In the morning, it's not a show song, but you can definitely tune in tomorrow from 8 to 12. We'll definitely play you whatever song you're requesting. But thank you for joining me here on Let's Pop with Iritan, where we talk about the African history, the African identity, and it's all about redefining Africans as we redefine ourselves. Remember, it's a great time to be alive. It's another week to basically get it. Let's go get it. Let's get it. In every way, start again. It's always okay to start over because it's never too late. It's always a great time to be alive. You can always start over with whatever you have. No excuses. But today, let's get into it, starting with an amazing affirmation in regards to who you are as an African and basically your identity. We could basically listening to Professor Lumumba giving an amazing speech. Maybe you might have some opinions about him, but whatever he's saying here is very, very amazing to hear in regards to what Africa holds and what Africans can be in regards to what's happening right now in Nigeria, the protesting going on. It's supposed to be a 10 days protest, but they've basically pushed It's an 11th day. They were protesting during the weekend, and the president came in talking about the fact that they should end the protest, but no, you've not complied or basically agreed to our cries and basically your pleas. So they're basically pushing for that protest. And also we have Kay Samuel talking about the fact that what's next for Gen Z and all this I'm compiling in regards to what Prophet Lumumba is saying and what Dr. Arikana is saying, and basically what's happening in regards to the word that they said. I played that video, basically a nice motivation for us to remember we are the change of today, using your platform to basically voice out change, to voice out positivity in regards to having better government, better leaders. But it starts in where you are, where you're working, whatever you're doing. You are the change to educate, to empower, and basically enlighten people in regards to who they are as Africans and how powerful they are. So let's listen in. And thank you everybody joining me. Haniel, Birta, thank you so much for joining me here on TikTok. Remember to like the video, share, and also follow us on all the social media at Black Heart Network, where you find amazing, empowering, uplifting conversations in regards to the African history and everything to do with the African identity.
What can we do to save Africa from this slide? Only 4 replied. That is the state of the continent of Africa. We must deal with the basic things. We must solve conflict. We must change our governance. Because if we don't deal with the question of governance, we are going nowhere. Africa has become a continent where after every election there is conflict, because the pursuit of power is a cutthroat competition where throats are actually...
We can see that happening right now with the deputy president. They're basically in collision with the president because it's a broken system, literally broken system, cycling the same strategy in leading the people.
Cut. And when the SMO was here and he consulted the oracles, he discovered that we have a problem in that direction. And that the sooner we resolve that, the safer we will be. Africa can rise and Africa will rise. But it's not going to rise by prayer and fasting. We must pray and fast, but it will not happen. Because the last time I checked, even those of you are believers, when Abraham was taken from Ur of the Chaldeans and given Canaan, it was not on a silver platter. He had to fight the Canaanites. He had to fight the Philistines. That is the nature of divine instruction. Go ye and subdue the world by the sweat of thy brow.
We definitely agree with him on that, because it's also a part of the Bible that says faith without actions is definitely dead.
The kitchen where they make manna was closed. Manna will no longer come, because you must now make your manna. And it is our duty, therefore, as Africans, to begin to rethink the younger generation. You know, there is a saying in Chichewa in Malawi that more precious than our children are our children's.
Aaron, how are you doing? Thank you for joining me here on TikTok. You're saying, "Bays, where's the Bible from?" Okay.
Children. So when we are doing these things, we must remind ourselves that we are doing for this generation and generation.
The Book of Corinthians, check that out.
Generations yet to be born.
That's basically Professor Lumumba giving us a bit of motivation in regards to Africa should rise, and it would not rise by prayer and fasting alone. And it basically says you have to be put the action in regards to fighting by the sword. And you see that happening when you talked about the collision of after every election, there's always a fight. You see also Senator Onyonka talking about this, like it's always been a recycling government, like there has to be a fight in regards to the president and the vice president. Always he mentioned that in the previous regimes of the people in government, people leading, and we've seen that happening. It's happening right now, but it's also amazing to watch because we're not really doing anything right now, but we can see the government basically just crumble down. And that's not really our fault, because we've been pushing for change. After the Gen Z realized the finance bill is super crazy and we cannot deal with that anymore, the fact that I believe they thought the Gen Zs really do not really care about anything that's going on in the government, and they can just come up with whatever high taxes and basically draft any amount of tax or percentage in whatever different sectors on the economic sectors, obviously. But that's when we saw the Gen Zs, the group of generation that people think they're actually just in their own world. They're the ones who rose to fight for a better government, literally. And we saw that spiral leading to Uganda, a little bit chill right now, but the Nigerians have gone all the way. A 10-day protest turned to 11 days, and they're still pushing for it because the president came out, President Tinubu, talking about the fact that they should call out for the protest, but he didn't actually comply with your requests. And they're saying, why should we end the protest? And you're talking about the fact that you're going to adhere to our requests. And they've been pushing for this. A lot of people, 13 that have been mentioned reportedly, have passed away during the protest, and they came back protesting. But the fact that, why are you using live bullets to kill our people? We want a better government. We want better leaders, because we understand we are the voice of the people. We see the fact that leaders, when they're leading, or basically they don't have the support of other people in the government, they come back to the people because they realize we are the ones who are basically pushing you to be there. We're the ones who elected you to be there. They always come back to us. This is what Deputy Gachagua is doing right now. We see the president going back into maybe some favorable areas where he's regarded to basically have the affirmation of the people. This is what Dr. Ari Kanner is talking about in regards to what Africa and basically the Europeans are doing.
Upon a time, our beloved continent was this beautiful tree of life that gave life not only to humanity, but to life in general as we know it. Invaders came to our beloved continent centuries ago, and they started messing with this tree of life that is Africa. We must understand the tree that was, the tree that gave life to the world. We need to understand what has been done to this tree to take it to where we have the Africa that is no longer the center of the world. When we understand what has been done to Africa, it makes it easier for us to strategize on how we can undo the damage.
He said something very, very major and very important right there. If we understand what has been done to Africa, that's the part which I believe most of us don't know. Some of us are learning, relearning about this. I'm relearning also as I'm here. If we understand how Africa used to be, how Africa has been, this is something you're not really taught also in our educational system. And that's really something I always basically voice it out here every day. It really basically heartbreaks me right now. It breaks my heart. That's it. Because I believe if we were taught about the African history before colonization, I believe all of us as Africans right now will understand the power of who we are, of what Africa is. And I believe we would not really give way for invaders to come in.
The destruction that has befallen our motherland, the African tree of life. I think it's clear that we understand for this tree to have issues. The issues are either issues above the ground, which is what they have mostly wanted us to focus on, versus issues below the ground, which are really the pivotal issues, the issues that they strategized to see to it that Africa and her children are forever defeated and dominated. Allow me to classify the issues, the reasons why this tree of life that is Africa is ailing. And I'm going to divide the issues between the two. Problems that are causing this tree to ail, but problems above the root, above the ground. And issues that are making this tree ail that are below the ground. Issues of the root. Quite often, we are focusing on the issues above the root, issues above the ground. Issues like the leaves and the flowers and the fruits and the branches that are falling off one season after another. Those issues like leadership, issues like corruption, issues like poor access to healthcare, poor education, poor infrastructure. Those are all issues above the ground. They come and they go.
I believe we've been taught since we're at a younger age, we've been taught that we're not good enough, we don't fit in, like we need help from other foreign countries. That's all a lie, because I believe, as she said, we have to understand how Africa has been. What is Africa? The name Africa, the cradle of life. Understanding where you're coming from will definitely give you this mind-opening idea of who you are, your identity, where you come from, and basically the confidence you should walk in because you know who you are. But that it has all been changed, and it's now the opposite, that we're not good enough, we don't deserve anything, we need help. But it's the other way around. As we relearn that, it can be heartbreaking. It has been heartbreaking for me for some time. But if we are taught about who we are as African, and I believe since we're little, that's when kids are basically taken to school, or basically taught about things which really stick in their mind for like forever. Because I believe also it's all about habits, learning, relearning. And if you're young and you're kind of like a little kid, not really a toddler, like you can go to school like 8 years old, and whatever we are fed is what we're gonna kind of walk into understanding. You know what, this is who I am, this is where I come from. If all this African history before colonization is taught in school, I believe we will be in a much more better place right now.
Change leaders every day in Africa. But tell me one African country that changed a leader and things changed. We might see some improvement, but fundamentally, nothing changes. This was all by design. Where we are lacking in our understanding of our Africa is the issues below the ground, the issues of the root, the issues that were predetermined by those who came to colonize Africa, those who came to settle in our beloved continent.
That's basically true. We have to have that understanding that there are predators all around. We have to have that awareness in us and enlightenment that there are predators everywhere, because Africa has all the wealth and everybody's looking to grab, and they can do anything for their own selfish interests. And that makes us be alert, be woke, and be strong, and basically fight for better.
Remember, when they came to
General Mosquito, I see you there. Let's pop with no guest. You can be the guest. What about that?
Africa, the settlers, they found an amazing continent with everything and anything the world could ever need, well-established religious and educational systems. And they wondered, how on earth?
I like the fact that every leader, or basically philosopher, talks about the African history or the Africa arising. They always talk about the educational system, because it's really messed up.
Can we ever conquer such an amazing continent unless we come up with a strategy that will see to it that Africa and her children are forever defeated and dominated? I repeat, unless they came with a strategy that would see to it that Africa and her children are forever defeated and dominated. To start with, when the colonizers came to Africa, we didn't have the issue of color, black and white.
That's what I'm going to digress from what she said to basically make this point stronger, to basically what's happening in Nigeria right away, right? The fact that we have Tinubu talking about the fact that he's not addressing the main issues of what's happening in Nigeria, the fact that they have the largest oil company and nobody is living a comfortable life. That's something to question. I'm going to add that here right away in the Nigerian practice.
Did not exist in our languages. We were Africans. The missionaries were sent in with specific instructions to make the Africans believe that everything African was bad and everything European was better and more desirable. They put in motion a process of making us dislike that which was ours and go all out to embrace what the new invader was bringing to our beloved continent. I have to give it to them. They did a very good job at doing that. They hit us where it hurt the most, the mind. The missionaries taught us about white angels. The missionaries taught us about the devil who was black. The missionaries are white, like the angels. And that when we go to church, we must worship the white angels. And definitely want nothing to do with the black devil who looks like us. Subliminal messaging. Subliminal messaging. That's where we began the self-hate, the mistrust of each other, the lack of appreciation, an idea that is coming from your brother, an idea that is coming from your sister, because we are taught to dislike anything to do with us.
Yeah, we've seen that a lot. Africans are not united. Africans are fighting against each other. There's no support even to your sister, your friend. It's so hard to support another African. But if you want to support someone else, another race, it's so easy because of what she said, the self-hate and also the mind control that was basically indoctrination. Actually, the word is indoctrination. But that's what's happening in regards to what Dr. Arikana Chihomori is talking about as we digress in a minute.
That, my brothers and sisters, was level one, number one level of destroying.
And it's amazing because right now we see there's so much power in unity. And they knew that. And that's why we were taught to hate each other or hate one another, not support each other. Because if we have one united goal or basically one voice come together, we achieve more and so much better in regards to making Africa great again. Thank you so much, everybody joining me here on TikTok. I can say Mr. Blackout Fire, General Mosquito, Cash Money, George Weber, Catherine Muhati, thank you so much for coming in and joining us on TikTok. It's Let's Pop with Iritan, and the topic is the voice of Africans. Remember to like this TikTok, share, and also follow us on the social medias to basically find amazing, uplifting conversation in regards to who you are as an African.
The African, the mind. Then they followed it with colonization. A systematic way of saying now that we have made the African believe that everything African was bad and everything European was better. Let's take it to the next level. So it is that they met in Berlin and decided to chop up our country, our continent rather. So it is they met in Berlin, Germany, at the invitation of the then Chancellor of Germany, Bismarck.
We have to own everything we are with pride. Everything we have, everything we own with so much pride, because we're the deal, literally. But we've been taught to hate. We've been taught to cause collision between each other. But if we own, support, love each other with so much confidence, that's where the power is. We can see Senator Nyanka basically pointing this out about the way the government has been recycling the same people, recycling the same strategy, and that's where there's no change. And that's where we can see the protest pyro leading in other countries basically become more powerful because we just need change. It cannot be suppressed anymore. I believe change is just kind of pushing its voice out, like I'm here and you have to receive me with all open hands.
9 years, averagely, they've been recovering 1.5 billion. But in those 9 years, if you are losing 600 billion shillings a year times 9, you're talking about how much?
54?
5.2 trillion.
Trillion.
So what she's talking about, in fact, they should not be earning a salary. Because look at the logic. You know, these days, Yusuf, it is data. And what I'm telling her lordship here is that EACC, I can tell you, you remember we went to Isiolo
Isiolo County, yes.
Yes,
And
we are somebody attached to our committee at CPAC. And when we went to Isiolo, when we came back, she was fired. She was transferred from our committee. Why? Because she was not supposed to be there, because some people in our office have political interest in sorting some of these things. Until we remove politics and remove personal favors from our friends, EACC means nothing. If you see the number of letters I've written to EACC, and in fact, matters concerning people's lives and death, where 160 workers of Kisii County, a letter is written by the governor's office that these people must be taken to EACC to be fired. Why? These were people working for Gusii County Council. They didn't need.
I definitely, concurrent with what Senator Onyanko is saying, but the question is in regards to what the activist Kay Samuel talked about, like people should basically be accountable in regards to the cases that are being brought up, squandering all the tender money. But still, do we really need these people in these positions? No, because they are in the system. I believe they cannot help it but just be corrupt.
Degrees to be taken to EACC. So EACC deals with things which are so simplistic, like going out there and arresting a police officer taking a bribe. Why are you arresting a police officer who's taking a bribe? And right now, you know, and everything is in public, that Kenyans are taking money to these banks, which have got branches in Dubai, and billions of dollars, not shillings, are being siphoned off. Have you heard EACC say, we are talking to the central bank to find out why this money is actually being taken out?
Okay, you made your point, Senator.
Number two, wait.
Okay.
Number two,
yes.
EACC knows all of us. They know Onyonka's car, they know Onyonka's house, they know Onyonka owns this and this.
Okay.
If they wanted to get everybody's assets today, they will do it because of the technology it's available. Okay. Even your phone. This thing is getting out of hand. People are stealing money for medicines. People are stealing money that is supposed to do water. People are stealing billions of shillings for bursary money.
Basically, here he's talking about the public tenders. We talked about this in the morning show, the fact that there's a case that was dropped for Najib Balala. He was given public tenders for construction of amenities at his county in Mombasa, which he did not give any accountability on where the money went. And it was a case in court a few months ago. That was last month. The case was just dropped out of nowhere. And we're basically trying to figure this out. It's because this guy has always been in the government for years. We've always seen him. And the fact that just the case just disappeared in thin air, no one is questioning him, that's the problem. That's the reason why, even the fact that these people should be accountable, I believe they can't help being corrupt. It's just basically in their system. It's in their blood.
We are raising issues. Why do we have a bursary that is being run by a member of parliament, that is being run by the women rep, that is being run by the national government, and all these bursaries are being given to the same people, and nobody has a list on who's getting these bursaries? You see, why do we behave like that? I mean, it's like some banana republic, like Haiti, Jamaica, those places where people don't care. You find yourself in London and you leave and you go on. Now we are rushing to Dubai. I mean, I can tell her, she works at EACC. The first thing you arrive in Dubai, when you go to a place you are eating and you find Kenyans, they tell you, Nani has bought 46 units, each was 500,000 USD. Huh? Oh yeah, and you see, we can go. Sharjah. Mm-hmm. Let's go to Sharjah. I'll show you how one of your governors. He came the other day. Hey, boss, you should see his house, boss. $2 million.
That's glorious.
I mean, I am getting this in a restaurant in Dubai. You want to tell me, EACC can't follow this money?
Okay.
Are they aware?
Just to check, even to embarrass the guy, even to just come and shame me and say you.
That's glorious.
I mean, I am getting this in a restaurant in Dubai. You want to tell me, EACC can't follow this money?
Okay.
Are they aware?
Just to check, even to embarrass the guy.
The fact that we're talking about Eric Omondi, I think, basically mentioned this, and also Senator Onyanko, it was something which was basically spiral leading. I believe it was just maybe in the energy, and they're saying the fact that these parastatals are in the same pact with the government because of there's no track or audit in regards to anything that is going in and out, you know.
Even just come and shame you and say you could earn money from Kenya, we can't prosecute you,
Yeah.
but we know you spent $2 million.
Okay, she will tell.
And that's the conversation these people are having. Members of parliament, cabinet secretaries, who has the best this, who's driving this, really? And these are the people we still want in government, because I believe maybe they're healing their childhood trauma, but don't do that on the expense of the people's, for them to have a better country, a better government. You're not there to, obviously it's going to benefit you, but just don't do it in the open like that. Are you sure, like, you're making sure your constituency or your county is doing better, instead of them seeing you driving, flying in and out, owning this, and you're confidently, this is the thing, you're confidently doing an interview about how much money you have or how much your car and your wristwatch costs, confidently, like a 35, 40-year-old man doing that, honestly, and you know you're in the government. It just doesn't even sound right.
Tell us more about how it's going beyond the borders as well.
You know, when I listen to my brother talking, I totally support him because he's in government. But I want to give him the other alternative. And I want to tell you something here. By the way, I will send you the details about how much money we are borrowing and how much you're going to borrow in the next 2 months. It's a World Bank report. Now, and that's what the Kenyan government has asked for. Sami, this is the problem we have with our country. Take the LAP fund, money is being stolen. Go to the sports fund, money is being stolen. Go to housing, nobody knows, nobody has the clarity of what the government is doing. Look at the retirement fund. There is no retirement fund right now other than the private sector, which you can put your fingers on and say, if you retire today, you get paid if you are a university lecturer. Zero. Look at the education fund. Nothing is working. Go down. Talk about what we are doing with our military. APCs, the armored personnel carriers we are supposed to use, which our people are supposed to be using in fighting the Al-Shabaab. And this problem is not with President William Ruto. Look at how our soldiers are being killed. They don't have the goddamn equipment for them to go and fight where they're supposed to be fighting. Look at our fuel prices. People go and negotiate a fuel price, which is fake. They are sharing their commissions. They come and give us more costing on the fuel. They tell us it was government to government expenditure. I mean, government purchase. Which discount do you get when you are negotiating? That is the discount men are sharing. We are not children anymore. These are the issues that are making our country look like a banana republic. Let the government put policy into place. But, you know, I want to repeat it here. When you see David Ndii,
I see the likes of Jimmy Wanjigi being followed up, the likes of Katie Samuel being followed up, because they're talking facts and truth and what the government is doing, basically openly, basically kind of making sure or thinking people are not looking at this or watching them. That time is out for people the people that are not fearless anymore, people not basically voice what's wrong anymore. Like, people are tired. The best they can do right now is voice it out. And I remember we had Meyer McGuest here on Friday, and she said the best way you can voice all your frustration, thank God for the protest, is basically joining the protest and voicing it out, because it cannot be like this anymore.
we talk. David Ndii is my friend, and we don't talk on economic matters because we agreed we are on both either side. He's saying, I can't help this nonsense which is going on. People are stealing money. People are buying deals. Guys are buying houses in Karen. Somebody's buying a house for 290 million with 16 bedrooms. What is wrong with us?
Look at that, 16. Yeah, that's what's happening.
What happened to us?
They're healing their childhood trauma.
There are no medicines in hospitals, county deals. Guys are buying houses in Karen.
I have to repeat that because I was having this conversation in the weekend. We're talking about the fact that people are healing their childhood trauma. There's actually counterfacts in the fact what the government people are doing. Like, oh my God, I'm in this position. Let me buy me a house in Dubai. Let me buy me a house in Syokimau. Let me heal my childhood trauma. Forgetting like you're a leader and people are watching you. Yeah?
These are the issues that are making our country look like a banana republic. Let the government put policy into place. But, you know, I want to repeat it here. When you see David Ndii talk, David Ndii is my friend, and we don't talk on economic matters because we agreed we are on both either side. He's saying, I can't help this nonsense which is going on.
Bringing us to the fact that the net worth were being vetted on the what his name, Joho Hassan, basically leading the net worth of what he owns of all his resources and wealth, understanding that's not the whole factor, it's not the truth, it's not the main factor. Like he has a net worth of 2.36 billion. It's just what he wants us to hear. It's not it. It's more to that. I believe he basically tells us the truth. We'll basically protest in the next hour.
People are stealing money. People are buying deals. Guys are buying houses in Karen. Somebody's buying a house for 290 million with 16 bedrooms. What is wrong with us? What happened to us? There are no medicines in hospitals. County governors are doing the same. You have the National Assembly. If the government is not going to take control, those youths that you saw who are going to look for jobs,
That's what's up.
they will walk into the streets and you are not going to stop them.
Jim Ross Mudis
And they're basically shoving it in your face. I have this house with that's a lot of bedrooms there, and you think about it, huh?
says that Sam, it is true that what the senator is saying about the teachers' recruitment, corruption all over, no interviews in schools like before, employment letters were given out like campaign kickbacks. Sad.
Yes.
Odoro Jr. is saying that it is true that TSC jobs are being sold, and as a teacher, I have no chance because they are given to MPs and government leaders who work with the letters and give to those they know only. If that be true, it's a very unfortunate reality.
It is true.
Some in my constituency, we employed 43 teachers,
You see,
and they all, I want to explain.
how did he employ 43
no,
sorry.
and I can't employ
And they-
two in
and-
Kisii?
Senator, we are closing.
Let me, and they all went through the proper job interview.
There's no preferential treatment.
There was no job
no, it was
interview.
fresh recruitment.
There was not.
There are no job interviews no more. Literally.
There was a portal.
People-
The formality, but they basically know the person they're going to employ. And that's why a lot of youth right now, people do not have job employment. People are basically tracking, looking for job with the right way you should, because you went to school and everything that you're supposed to do right. But when you get there, they basically do that in form of formality, but they're not going to call you back. They know who they're going to call. And that's why we should not stop pushing, protesting for a better government.
People
Opened by
applied.
TSC, they applied. Actually, we facilitated a workshop to train them how to fill, those, and it was done actually by TSC. We called them.
There was no criteria.
And
the
43
people
of
were
them-
given positions as to how they are known in
Okay, 3
government.
of them have been employed. So I do not know. These are the things that
Basically, but governance also in Kenya, as we talk about Tinubu and the fact that he's refused to comply with the voice of the people in Nigeria.
He said that he understands the people's pain and frustration, and he urged Nigerians to end the
That's what he said. He understands the pain. Do you think he really understands the pain of the people? If he did, they would not be protesting right now.
protest. But will they? Our next report tells you.
Day 5. Nigeria remains on edge, as the West African nation is only
General Muskiri saying that's not a house, that's a hotel. That's a hotel for a single individual, no family. Think about it.
halfway through the designated 10 days of rage.
General Mosquito, they're healing their childhood trauma. Maybe they didn't grow up in such a house, and it's mind-blowing and fascinating for them to be like, I own a 16-bedroom house in some place.
The protest began on August 1st against bad governance. And the soaring cost
That's what Tinubu is just saying. After the 10 days of protesting, the Nigerians coming out every day, just the 10-day, it went up to Saturday. This is what he said. I understand the pain and the frustration that drive this protest. I don't think he really does, honestly. Honestly, he doesn't. For him to just come out and say this, nothing else.
of living in Africa's most populous nation. Hundreds of thousands of people have taken to the streets across the nation. including in the capital Abuja and Lagos, the country's commercial hub. Since the protest began, 700
Tinubu
people
knows. He just doesn't care. He knows what none of these puppets that were put in there. They don't care. They're all corrupt. They're very evil and wicked. African leaders are not just corrupt; they're wicked because they've been put in power because they're wicked. That's why the European makes sure before he puts these puppets in power that they're wicked and unattached to the people, stealing and robbing. He knows what's going on. He understands their pain, of course, because they're the ones implement the pain on the people.
Yeah.
Once you understand it, he doesn't give a shit about it.
Yeah.
including at least 50 journalists, according to Amnesty International. And at least 13 people have been killed, according to the same source. But the police have put the death toll at 7. They're not taking responsibility for the deaths. Instead, they are blaming accidents and the quote-unquote hoodlums for the violence. Over the weekend, as anger spiked,
Yeah, because the fact that he came out saying, I understand the pain of the people, it's supposed to be a 10-day protest. On weekend, they're like, we're going out to protest. What do you mean you understand the pain of the people? And we cannot see anything in regards to the changes that you're supposed to comply with the request that we kind of came out with.
the protest became more hostile, and the crackdown by authorities intensified. So finally, Nigerian President Bola Tinubu spoke up. He addressed the nation on Sunday.
My dear Nigerians,
Oh my goodness, my dear Nigerians. It just looked like everything he's gonna say has been scripted, honestly.
especially our youths, I have
Especially our youth.
heard you loud and clear. I understand the pain and the frustration.
Why you ain't
that
heard them
drive
loud
this
and clear before they protested? Why you ain't heard them loud and clear before they protested? Because you don't give a shit. Look how old and senile this bastard is. Absolute
understand.
criminal moron.
Bola Tinubu, that's what's up.
And I want to assure you that our government is committed to listening and addressing the concerns of our citizens. But we must not let violence and destruction tear our nation apart.
The same old
also
nonsense. We
urged
don't have
Nigerians
destruction
to
and this man. What I'm supposed to do when I'm starving? You ain't done shit. Shut up. You sound crazy as hell.
I know.
end the protest.
Same old thing they all say. We must not allow destruction and this same thing Rudo said. We must not allow these people to destroy our peace and
And
destroy
with
things.
also.
Yeah, they're all the same thing. And they the ones pay the goons to come out and tear shit up. So I feel like the peaceful people are doing it. Exactly, because
Right.
that's the whole scam.
Mhm.
Yeah,
I
but
think they
semi
have
old
like a
ass.
school of politics that they go to, literally.
Suspend any further protest and create room for dialogue.
Okay.
Nah.
Which I
When we didn't protest, you had a dialogue and you didn't do shit. You was buying your $1 million yachts, your $1 million planes. You're stealing money from the Nigerians because you got your damn oil company over in Malta. They're stealing money.
16-bedroom house, really?
have always acceded to at this lightest opportunity. Nigeria requires all hands on deck and it all, regardless of age, party, tribe.
He doesn't have like oomph of a leader. I don't know why he's there, honestly. Like, you would tell if someone is really meaning something, but I'm not connecting with him.
Religion or other divides.
But then he went on to defend his economic reforms, which are at the core of the protests. The president came to office in May 2023. Since then, he has devalued the Nigerian currency, the naira.
Of course,
He has ended fuel and electricity subsidies.
You know what told him to do that? The IMF. The Europeans told him that, and he did it. The white man said, "You do what you told, nigga." Yes, master.
Aye, Captain.
And now Nigeria is
Exactly.
suffering
Exactly.
its worst
Aye, aye,
economic
Captain.
crisis in decades. The inflation has hit a 28-year high. Sure, this didn't happen in a bubble. Nigeria has seen years of economic mismanagement.
And remember, guys, the major thing the Nigerians are protesting about is hunger. That's really sad, honestly. Hunger.
Economic mismanagement. You mean theft? Economic mismanagement. It's called theft. It's called
Right.
stealing. Yeah. And why
That's
should anybody be
bad.
starving? Why should anybody be
Mhm.
starving in any part of Africa when you got the best land to grow food? So see, even though shout out to Maria and Seta over there in Uganda told the truth. That's one thing Museveni understood. Even though you may be poor, you're fucked up. Uganda still has a lot of food because he made sure the food growing was in Uganda. So
Yeah.
it's hard to protest on a full belly. Like Maria said, I may be fucked up, but my belly's full every time.
Oh my goodness. Yes, at least. But this is like super shameful for a country that is known as the giant of Africa. Honestly.
Yeah, what a giant failure. Giant of Africa.
Belly failure indeed.
Tinubu placed the cherry on top, and Nigerians blame him for their hardships. So, an apology sandwich with consolations and sorries is not cutting it for them.
We are going nowhere.
Look at that lady. She's like frustrated.
Right.
She's
That's
done.
right. So sorry's not gonna fill her empty belly every time.
Right.
The president said this morning means nothing. It means nothing.
From the speech that the president has made so far, if he doesn't address the needs of the Nigerian people,
That's what they're waiting for. There was a list of demands that the president should address. But he's coming out and saying, I understand your pain and frustration. They don't want to hear that. No, you do not understand.
reducing the fuel price back to 200, bringing back subsidy,
No, he doesn't.
reducing the cost of education, opening the borders, then he has not spoken.
So, this is where Nigeria is at, bubbling with anger, only to be snubbed by police action and the president's call for a protest pause. Which side will win? The answer should become clear this week. But if early indications hold any weight, brute force and empty words
The placards are saying no to starvation. Yeah, like the giant of Africa should not be really protesting the hashtag #1. The major thing is starvation. No way.
will not do much to assuage the anger of young Nigerians.
That's it with the Nigerian protest. Understanding, as Keith said, all these leaders are basically the same. They are told what to do, and that's what they do. They don't have any command or power within themselves. They're basically following what they're told, and that's how we see how Africa is right away, right here in Kenya, in Uganda. Talk about Nigeria right away, but the fact that Ibrahim Traoré is doing the most, and he's saying, you know what? No, we better take back our country, and combining his country with Mali. It's a beautiful thing because I believe we can also do that as Kenyans and also as Ugandans. They basically rise up again. I believe they're going to do that. But I also see Case Samuel basically talking about the fact that leaders should basically be accountable for everything that they should be doing, the tenders that they're basically using for their own interests. Hashtag Najib Balala. I'm still following up on that case because why is the case dropped? No, I know he's part of the government, but leaders like him should be followed up. That is because Samuel.
Casmuel Bokaure is an activist and he's here. Casmuel, good morning. How are you doing? Oh, Pole. I have the wrong mic for you. Hold on. I'm going to repeat that again. Kasmul, good morning.
Good morning, Lado.
How are you?
Not bad at all.
Welcome to the hot seat of the situation.
Thank you, sir.
How you doing?
Not bad.
I've seen Kasmul very confidently talking about matters at hand in the government, the protests, and we saw on Thursday how he was being followed by, I think the GSU. Like they were basically aiming at him to basically get a hold of him, but he kind of like dodged them. It was really, really crazy, honestly.
Yeah. So we have this photo of our champions,
right?
Our athletes, from Paris, and you have our athlete from Nairobi in the studio.
He dodged the police very, very well.
You won a gold medal,
man.
A very thorough 50-meter sprint.
I really did.
That isn't a sprint, that's a dash.
That's a dash.
What?
Man saw police.
Right.
Man saw opening.
Right.
It's called strategy, bro.
Yeah,
it is.
It's called strategy.
No, but it was a madness. I feel like that's the only part that made
50-meter
it
hurdles.
It's the only part that made it to the media. Because, people tell us that we need to dialogue and you need to be brave. That's fine. But anytime I tried approaching the cops like this, I would tear gas. And
That's what happened. That's what Tinubu is saying right now. We need a dialogue. We saw President Ruto saying it doesn't work at all.
then I just got a bit crazy. I was like, no, man.
No. Why to take a protest? If you really believe in that, why take a protest? You have a dialogue. You didn't give a shit because most Africans have been, like Joby said on our show, have been you have been indoctrinated to live in piss and shit. And then like you guys say, we're not gonna pray. I don't care how many times you pray, Dr. Lumumba. You're right, it don't work. It don't work because the shit ain't real nowhere. That's why it don't work. Remember what your goofy Bible tell you to say you gotta have actions. Your Bible's esoteric, it's not real. You're supposed to learn, you're supposed to take lessons from it because the Africans that wrote it, it was spiritual. You're not supposed to take it literally, but you people made it literal. So then you've accepted to live in piss and shit while you live on the richest continent. Like as Ibrahim Touré asking, how can we live on the richest continent and be poor? How can we be the poorest people on the planet and Africa's where all the wealth is at?
Right.
Exactly. You should have been asking them questions. Questions you got to ask, but your leaders didn't want you to ask them. Now you're asking them. We need to have a dialogue. Dialogue what? People are stealing all my money. Where's my goddamn money at? Well, it's in the white man's hand. We've been having white people steal since they got here, since they invaded. Yeah. So we're asking, where the fuck is my piece of the pie? Well, you're not supposed to have none. You got it.
What do you
That's
mean?
right. That's what's happening. You see Africans impoverished. They're not supposed to have none. And what's been happening? The Africans ain't been having no riches. They've been sitting in poverty. 99% of Africa is poor. So it means you haven't been having any.
Right.
So you're supposed to stay impoverished and shut up. They're only saying dialogue now because you're out in the streets. If you were out in the streets, you would still be impoverished. Shit never changing. Because if they cared about changing anything, why must I get in the street and protest if you really usually nobody in Burkina Faso protesting because he actually wants to do right by the people. You don't need to protest. Go ahead, John.
To deal with this police force.
Well done.
Yeah.
Understood. It's not service. It's police force.
No, this is not a service. This is a force. This is a force.
Okay.
Yeah.
City will welcome you with the day's proverb.
We are in the Republic of the...
And I was like, no, we have a femicide problem. And that's also a thing that has not been resolved, even within this current situation. There's a very jarring report that should come out around just the cases of femicide, even in relation to Kware, because Kware also came up in this movement. Yeah, so that's how it happened. For me, it was just, I believe in marching for a fair and just society. And I think that whatever cause it is we're marching is a righteous and just cause. Yeah.
So you say, and many people have actually said this, even here we've said, that the finance bill appeared to have been a trigger. Right. But it was something that was bubbling under. There was a feeling of, discomfort with government and, just wanting things to get better.
Yes.
And the finance bill provided an avenue for people just to come together and gravitate.
Yes.
Since then, what has it become?
I don't think it has become anything, or I think it's just entering the fullness of its manifestation. Where, for example, if the finance was a scab and there was a rot or a cancer down there, it's an exploration of whatever the discussed or the bigger issue.
That's so true. As we're almost winding up, we saw the likes of Shakira Wafula talking about the fact that she just came out to protest when the finance bill draft came in, but she never used to follow up on regards to the government or anything to do with the government. But the fact that she saw the finance bill and everything is going to affect her personally, she came out really protesting, and she did see it being a way for her to kind of be like an activist right now. And she's been in all different avenues of media, and also kind of her face has been drawn on these walls, and you could see her confidence in regards to the day of the protest. But she just said that she didn't
see in a dirty secret, they did in a dirty secret here, Tom, they didn't think enough Africans would start being educated enough to know what's going on. So the best thing, you keep people ignorant so you can, steal a rob from them. They don't know what's going on, because Africans' nature, here, Tom, is you're sweet and loving by nature. That's your nature, and other people are not like you. So you're easily, hate to say, taken advantage of, exploited. So they figured to keep you ignorant as long as they could, so they keep exploiting you.
But that's done. I believe so.
We're starting to get done. Not completely done. It's starting. I say it's starting.
It's dirty.
Yes.
Is it's still, and it's a thing that I still believe in. I think the movement has just but begun. But
He said what you said, Keith. That's crazy.
there's also the role of propaganda and misinformation within the movement. There's also people trying to settle personal scores. There's also people who are in there to raise money. And that's part of what I think greatly did a great disservice and injustice to the movement. And a lot of the time when people talk about Nane Nane, which was recently, it was supposed to be very big. But if you think about the things that transpired, by the time people were getting to Nane Nane, state had already caught up with the fact that they could sponsor hashtags and people to just sponsor a totally different agenda. There was censorship very heavily. There was barring from people to get into town. But also, just within the citizens, there are people who sought to have private gain in the name of the collective. So
That happened. We saw Jimmy Wanjigi. Shimani mentioned today that Martha Karua was also there, and also the fact that when Jimmy Wanjigi was there on Thursday, which made the police really follow him to his premises and basically plant tear gases, some phones, and basically accusing him of being the person funding this protest, which was not it.
there are people who will just sit down somewhere because they can design a poster. They let out the poster and they know that they can play into the anger of Kenyans and the collective dissatisfaction in the public. So if I were to debrief Nane Nane, if it were totally up to me, knowing what I knew just the evening before, we would have called it off. But
Wednesday night?
Yes, on Wednesday night. Just seeing and knowing that there are people who just were doing this for the sake of chaos. They were just doing it for the sake of protests and sustained protests because that made them money. On the protesters' side, this is not even on state.
How are they making money?
So, when we have, I don't want to call it civil unrest, but when we have these activities that require mobilization, especially against state, there are certain progressive organizations that are willing to give people money for that. And that's why I think if I were to do it differently, the only reason I marched for Nane Nane was for the people who actually believe in the cause. There are comrades who would come from Kibra. They would walk from Kibra, guys would walk from Githurai. And you want to tell me that now we're calling off this thing, make it make sense. Because remember, there are also very many detractors, people who just came into the wave, rode the wave, and just let it go. I was doing it for these university students. I had a university student.
He's talking about the August 8th, which basically Keith also mentioned was a very powerful day for manifestation. He talks about people really came out, just for looting and protesting, but if you really understood the date of that day, you would basically understand why they basically came together to protest on August 8th.
student who sent me, a guy called David, who sent me 100 shillings and said, I'm sorry, I can't make it on the street, but go and march. There are people who actually truly believe in the cause and what it is that we were doing. But there was an individualism towards it that greatly took away from the movement. That would be my analysis of it. Yeah.
What would you say the cause is?
Just the three main points that we've been talking about: corruption, bad governance, and lack of accountability. Those permeate into all the sectors that we have problems with. When kids go hungry, or when young people cannot get identification cards in time, or passports, things that people applied for months prior, and just it's a politicization of things which government is supposed to be doing. And we have government officials looking at us and telling us maybe we have a PR or a communication problem. And we're like, no. The people look at us, young people, and say, oh, you should give the president time because he's made certain concessions. And we're like, if you're going to be altruistic about it, then no concessions have been made. And everybody but the people who've lost lives are being called to table. And we were not calling for dialogue. We were not even asking for positions. What we were doing was saying, do this right. And we refuse to be the generation that will applaud a fish for swimming. Just say, if this is what you were mandated to do, just do it.
But what you've just said, you've actually said something very profound.
Right.
See, yes, there was the Ruto must go chant.
Yes.
But then there's the narrative of you're saying, do it right. Meaning, you are in power, you're still there. Just do what you're supposed to do. Forget this going. You do what you're supposed to.
I don't think they can ever do what they're supposed to do because they've been in this broken system.
What they're supposed to do, you understand? What they're supposed to do is make sure that money goes to the white man, not you. So they are doing what they're supposed to do, but it's not it's not in African people's benefit. That's why they were put in power. They actually are doing. They're not doing what they're supposed to do according to you. What's beneficial to you? Of course not. But it's beneficial to the Europeans who benefit because of African resources, which made them wealthy. Now as the guy said, they get to pretend like they're superior to you, because that's why when Ayrton said your history, knowing your history is so important, guys. You need to know that the European was poor, backward, and illiterate. You need to know that so you won't be worshiping these people. You worship them as gods. Because you don't know history. You think it's now, because since they were more brutal in conquering you, means they were superior. It does not. It means they were just brutal and savage. That's how they conquered. They didn't conquer you with with that fake history. They tell you, oh, missionaries. No, they conquered you by stealing, raping, and murder. Savage. They're savages. So, that's why you need to know real history. Can't go learning, Pastor Kagame came to Kenya and founded this. They were exploring. What? I explored places already civilized with houses and kingdoms. What are you talking about? So your whole history has been warped. And it's been warped in a certain way, so you worship them. That's why they indoctrinate you with these lies. And then they so savage, they put the religion with them, and that you see them as a god. Man, you know how fucking psychopathic you ought to do that? You're fucking with psychopaths. So that's why real history's got to be taught to you, to decolonize your mind from loving people that hate you, that have put you instead. That listen, you're poverty in Africa, family. It's not natural. It's induced poverty. It's induced. So no one's your friend.
Yeah.
Put you in poverty and stealing all you. It's like me going to Ayrton's house. I say, Ayrton, coming to your house, it's lovely, but I want to steal what Ayrton has. So I know coming in, she's not going to allow me to steal her shit. She's going to fight me. But unlike Ayrton, I've developed better fighting techniques. She's been peaceful and loving. I come from a savage culture of violence and warfare. So when I meet Ayrton and she's loving, come on in, Keith, have a seat. I'm like, wow, this motherfucker's stupid. I'm taking Airtime's kindness for stupidity. And that's what they wrote. They tell you, read their book. So I'm thinking Airtime, wow. So Airtime's like the lamb, and I'm like the wolf. I'm like, ooh, I'm about to devour this crazy motherfucker. So she's like, come on in, Keith, have a seat, and I'll share what I have. I said, God, this motherfucker's stupid. Share. Or or maybe naive. So I then commenced to knock Airtime over the head and say, I'm going to take the whole house. So Airtime's going to try to fight me back. But she doesn't have the necessary skills or the necessary weaponry to defeat me. So eventually I take over Airtime's house and make her a servant in her own house. So now Airtime is serving me breakfast and dinner and clean up the house that was hers. I said, this is Africa, okay? Africa's Airtime's house. Now Airtime is serving me, working for me in her own house, which used to be a house. And then I know I can't get Airtime to love me because she knows who I am. She knows I'm no good because I smacked over their head. So I'm going to make sure Airtime's children love me. So I'm going to frame the educational system in the house, in Airtime's house. So our children will grow up loving and worshiping me from what I'm telling, which I'm teaching them. Of course, it's lies, but the lies that benefit me. So Airtime will continue to be my personal servant. And it goes so bad that Airtime's grandchildren will not even know that the house that they're in, it was once Airtime's. There's always been the white man. White man's always been here. I've always been the owner of the house. I've always been the best because I've indoctrinated now 3 or 4 generations past Airtime. And then I've done so good, I've taught Airtime's great-grandchildren to hate Airtime. It was nothing but loving and caring. I told them that Airtime was actually evil and wicked and fucked up. All right. That's what they done. I used to go in with Joby. Joby, were your ancestors evil? Yes. I said, why? Why were they evil, Joby? That's what they told us. I said, who'd your ancestors rape, murder, and steal from? Nobody. And how are they evil, Joby? That's what they taught us. Exactly. So now Airtime's great-great-grandchildren say, great-great-grandma Airtime was evil and fucked up. That's right. That's what I taught them.
No, sweetie.
They don't know you dead. They know what I taught them.
Right.
Go Airtime, you got it.
Yeah, it's important to know the African history. I remember the kid used to mention here, like about kingdoms and like Munster, and I'm like so curious. I'm like, But when I started researching this, it's like I was connecting with the part of me that I lost, honestly, and basically
it is part of you.
Yeah.
There's no borders Airtime. Those people are you. The people of Mali are you. There were no borders in Africa. Africans walked around continent freely. There were no borders. Those people in Mali are you.
Right. Honestly, guys, it's important to basically go back and relearn your history, learn who you were, who you are as an African, because something really changed in my mind. Like, yes, I get it, but it's like it was more imprinted in my, I can say, blood, and also just me in regards to who I am and the confidence I walk in right now. As we wind up, I'm gonna play a little piece of Patrice Lumumba, just for 1 minute, as we basically wind up on Let's Pop with Irichan. I can see DJ Fulani, thank you for joining me live on TikTok. Thank you for the compliment. Zazaur, thank you so much for joining me here on TikTok.
Union and all African heads of state and said, convene a meeting with only one agenda item. What can we do to save Africa from this slide? Only 4 replied. That is the state of the continent of Africa. We must deal with the basic things. We must solve conflict. We must change our governance. Because if we don't deal with the question of governance, we are going nowhere. Africa has become a continent where after every election there is conflict, because the pursuit of power is a cutthroat competition where throats are actually cut. And when the SMO was here and he consulted the Arabs,
But say why? Pause it. Listen. Why? Because that's the way they think they have access to wealth and resources, because none of these goofballs are smart enough to create anything, create manufacturing, and anything. They know through the levels of government, they get to steal and have a comfortable life. That's why it's cutthroat. Because they have not, these are the morons who have never built anything, never created anything, and that's why all the richest people in Africa are the politicians, which is absolutely backward. Because politicians are not supposed to be the most wealthy in your damn country. It's your inventors, it's your manufacturers, it's your tradesmen.
Yeah.
Not no damn politician. But in Africa, since they don't make shit, don't invent, because the white man told them, you better not make nothing. All your materials come to us and give us jobs, make us wealthy. So the only avenue to have a good life is to get into politics and control the resources that are filtered up to the white man, so you'll get your cut of the pie. Damn everybody else. Go ahead.
we have a problem in that direction. And that the sooner we resolve that, the safer we will be. Africa can rise and Africa will rise. But it's not going to rise by prayer and fasting. We must pray and fast, but it will not happen. Because the last time I checked, even those of you are believers, when Abraham was taken from Ur of the Chaldeans and given Canaan,
It was no goddamn Abraham. And fasting is African. Hold that. Hold on. Fasting was African. It doesn't do it in any Christian or Islamic religion. He gets caught up with that religion shit. It annoys me. Because listen, fasting started from African because it's healthy. You should fast. Those are African traditions that were taken into these goofy religions. Go back and study African science. Africans always said you should fast to clean your system out. It's not doing any religion. These are way before your religion. So give credit to the African, not your goofy books. It came from African knowledge years before your religions even existed. Understand these religions they keep talking about are new. How can God be new to you? It can't be. These religions are all new. These religions ain't even 2,000 years old. It's crazy. And God just told you he was a few days ago. No. So then I just don't like this guy. I mean, he's a good speaker. I just don't, because he goes to these countries, he never calls out. When he's in Rwanda, does he call out Kagame? No. When he's in Uganda, does he call out Museveni? No.
Right.
You don't call them. We say, oh, this is all corrupt. Who's corrupt? What are you talking about, man? He's just being nebulous. Who? What the names are? Shit. Stop trying to, Malcolm X, you're not. You're too scared. Well, it's this corruption. Well, who's being corrupt? What are their names? What are they doing? Who are they hooked up with?
Right.
Africans need to know names, not just it's corrupt. And things are bad. Things are bad. Things are corrupt. Okay. Who's bad? Who's corrupt, goddammit? Go ahead.
There is a saying in Chichewa in Malawi that more precious than our children are our children's children. So when we are doing these things, we must remind ourselves that we are doing for this generation and generations yet to be born.
Alrighty, that's Professor Lumumba with that.
Alrighty. Put his ass in a closet and lock it. God damn
Everyone
it.
tries. But we have
His speeches are worthless. Yeah, he must tell you. I'm feeling about Africa. You think Joby does it better than anybody? Joby's good with them impersonations, Iraton. Joby knows how to impersonate these people.
that was very motivating. The fact that Africa is rising again. That has been it with me on Let's Walk with Iriton.
What's up, family? Africa will rise. It will rise.
You guys on TikTok, have a blast. See you soon. Remember, you are the change you need to see in the world. Mwah, take care. Bye.
Ask Joby to give you an impersonation of Dr. Lumumba your time when you get a chance.
I'll definitely do that.
Yeah. Joby knows how to get those damn imitations of people and shit.
Thank you for the gift, Honorable Adrian KPM Couture. I appreciate that. Thank you, General Mosquito, for joining me here. I appreciate your presence also.
You know better what?